How good.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Camera Life podcast brought to you by Lucky Straps. This is episode 24. It's the 1st of August, 2024, here in not so sunny Victoria, Australia. Checking the weather forecast this morning, I think Bendigo was 0 degrees and Melbourne was 1 degree. So if you're coming from a northern climate, lucky you. As I said, this is the Camera Life podcast. We're coming to you live. We're streaming to our Camera Life podcast channel on YouTube, as well as the Lucky Camera Straps channel on YouTube. We've also set up and running live on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon Audio Podcasts, and the back catalogue of our podcast is also available for those of you that like to listen rather than watch. Last week, we're joined by Greg Carrick to share some of his fun and very creative ways of approaching his craft since retirement. Be sure to check out that episode from last week as well. That was episode 23. And if you're watching live, thanks for joining us. Make sure you comment, ask questions, whatever you want to do.
Speaking of comments, Greg, just quickly, they're going crazy. Maybe the word on the street got out that we will be giving a camera strap away. We launched a couple of new colours yesterday, and I said in an email very quickly, if you jump on the podcast and make a comment, we'll pick one of the comments at random to win a camera strap and wrist strap bundle of one of our new colours. So jump in the comments, say whatever you want, just keep it nice. Maybe ask a question of Ian if there's something that pops up, and we'll give it away in around 10, 15 minutes, roughly.
I think people are here to see Ian, Justin, judging by most of the comments.
Most of them are. Speaking of which, couple, Tom Frieda, good morning from Canada. It's the evening here. Newly subscribed and catching up on older videos so far. Very impressed. Wow, you're going the right way to get yourself a camera strap. Random.
Welcome.
Tom's already bought a few.
Who else have we got? Tay Bassey, woohoo, Ian.
Oh, hey, Taylor. She's an amazing photographer.
Oh, really?
Ian's brought his own crew.
Yeah, he's certainly
Speaking
has.
of which, we should introduce our guest.
Do it.
But just very quickly, I'm Greg, and we're joined by Justin and Jim from the Lucky Straps team. And we're joined today by Ian Tan, who I've known for quite some time. Ian's my, I call him Papa, and I call Rena, his wife, Mama. That's how close we are. They're obviously not really my parents. Well, not biologically anyway. But Ian is a Melbourne-based photographer and videographer, and he's been my photography mentor for a good number of years. And welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much, Greg. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Jim.
Nice to have you
on the
here.
show.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Good to have you, mate. Good to have you here. Well, as soon as we've got you talking, why don't we kick off with talking about Ian's work, and maybe, Ian, if you want to give us a little bit of a history about your journey in photography, how you got started, and maybe what your first camera was.
Sure.
Over to you.
Sure. I've been a photographer for probably about maybe 15 years. Started off probably similar to how most people start. You bring your camera on a holiday, you start taking some photos, and you go, hey, this looks pretty cool, pretty fun. So me and my wife Rena, we both enjoyed it so much that we both decided to jump into photography. So as most of you photographers would know, that's probably twice the expense. But it was something that we both enjoyed and we both could do together. So we went full into it. So my start was mostly in travel photography, which then became landscape photography. And at that time, I was using a Canon 600D, I think, with a 16 to 55 mm lens, or a 24 to 70 equivalent. So that's how I got started. So just wanted to take pictures of whatever places that I visited and saw. Enjoyed that process a lot. And then I decided to look into getting a rangefinder style camera. So I looked at Leica and I went, oh, this looks pretty cool. And then I look at the prices and I go, no, this is not so cool.
Justin doesn't have that problem.
But also around that time was when we all do, right? Gas is a lifelong addiction. But around that time I got that was when the Fuji X100 was released, and I saw that and I go, oh, that's pretty cool. So I bought one, and that was pretty much the gateway drug that got me into the Fujifilm ecosystem. I love that camera simply because it just made me want to take it out and go out and shoot pictures. So being a rangefinder style camera, I decided to give street photography a try. It was fun. Wasn't that good at it, I don't think, but my sort of mantra during that phase of photography was just to take photos of things that I saw every day and to try to find beauty in the mundane. So I just took photos of everything, and it was sort of from there I discovered that obviously street photography. I continued to do landscape photography. I branched into astrophotography. So after getting the X100, I also bought the XT1, which was more like a SLR style camera. And then from there, I upgraded to the XT2 when that came out. And we were still traveling, my wife and I. So with the XT2, we went to Alaska in the middle of winter, and we chased the aurora. So we were out shooting, 2 a.m. in the morning in the middle of an Alaska winter, with the aurora just exploding all over the sky, and it was pretty amazing. Wow. It was heaps of fun.
Now you don't have to travel very far for the aurora.
Oh, yeah, this is true. However, the aurora looks very different. The aurora, the borealis looks very different to the Australian version. So, but that was heaps of fun.
Did you get the shot that you were hoping for?
Yeah, we did. Well, we actually made 2 trips. So the first trip we allowed ourselves maybe about a week, and it really wasn't that much time because you can't predict the aurora, and also it happens at the level above the clouds. So if you have a lot of cloud cover, that sort of wrecks it for you. So that first week we did see the aurora, but because of all the other factors, we didn't really capture really good photos of it. So we said, we got to go back and we got to try it again. So we allowed ourselves a little bit more time. We had a few days of really amazing activity. At one point, the lights were just, it was just a light show. You could see with the eyes, and we just said, all right, let's just put the camera down, lie on the snow, and just look up and just enjoy the show. And that's what we did. So, but we also got some amazing photos.
That's cool.
So that was heaps of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a bucket list for a lot of photographers to head somewhere like Iceland or Alaska or Canada and get into some extreme kind of weather situation. Or
any sort of country sort of within the Arctic Circle would you be able to see the aurora. We also managed to shoot it in Norway, so we went to Norway to visit and also to shoot the aurora. So my advice would be, if you want to shoot the aurora, Alaska is good, but if you want to do something other than shoot the aurora, some of the other Scandinavian countries are probably better, because when you're done shooting with it, there's at least other different sort of landscapes and different parts of the country you want to visit. Whereas Alaska is kind of nice, but it's a lot of wilderness, and if you want to see something like, say, art galleries that we visited in Norway, Alaska is probably not the place to do that. So if you want to
Alaska, if you were going there, your trip would be really based around sort of accessing the wilderness rather than cities and that kind of stuff.
Definitely. So if you do go to Alaska, we didn't end up doing the outdoor rugged stuff like camping and all that, but if you can, because it's quite a fair way to travel. I think it was like a 27-hour journey from Melbourne for us.
That's a long way.
Yeah. So if you do go, obviously take the time to spend there. We did camp in a cabin in the Wrangell St. Elias National Park, so that was quite fun as well. But you can obviously go there or see the wildlife. If you can get a tour and see if you can photograph some bears. Also, Canada's not that far away, so we did decide to go to Canada as well after Alaska. So that was a nice side detour.
Just a question for Jim and Justin. Guys, have you ever been that far north? Have you ever been into the Arctic Circle? Jim, how far north have you been?
Japan? Is that just like...
It is
that
north.
feels far.
It is
yeah.
very far. It's over the equator.
No, I think Japan's probably as far north as I've been.
Yeah, me too, mate.
I think New York is as far as I've been. I think that's higher than Japan. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not sure. But yeah, it's on the list for sure. It's the dream. Yeah. Maybe we can do a camera life trip to Norway.
Funded by Lucky Straps, of course.
Well, maybe,
well, funded by the podcast because we've got so big.
Well, yeah,
we do sell gloves that are designed in Norway.
I saw that.
It would be a work trip. They are very
they are awesome. Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're designed for, is those kind of trips. And they're designed by a photographer and his partner in Norway. That's where they live. That's what they do. You know, he's worked as a what do you call it when you do sled dog stuff? You know, with the dogs. That he used to run like tours and stuff with sled dogs and all that sort of stuff in the Arctic. Like that's what he knows.
Yeah.
So
he knows how cold it can get.
Exactly. But maybe we can all go visit him. Just arrive at his front door. Like, hey.
Yeah. Can we just get a photo for tax purposes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then we're going out to try and find the aurora.
Yeah. Jim.
Sorry, Ian, if I missed it, were you there during winter or summer?
Yes, I was there during winter. So you want to go during winter because that maximizes the nighttime conditions. So in winter, obviously the nights are longer. So if you go at night, then that maximizes the amount of time that you can see the aurora, because you can't see it during the day or when there's light. It's only when it's dark. Yeah.
What sort of camera gear would you reckon people take for their first time? What's like the essential if you're going on a trip and this is a big part of it? What's essential to have with you?
So if you're going to shoot the aurora, you want essentially the same gear as if you were shooting, astrophotography, Milky Way sort of stuff. So a prime lens with a wide aperture, a wide-angle lens would be preferable. In terms of batteries, I didn't have an issue with my batteries dying on me, assuming, I kept, a good store of batteries. I had probably maybe about 4 batteries, which I kept inside the pocket of my jacket to keep them warm. But the only technical issue I experienced with one of my cameras was I think my X Pro one of my buttons froze, so it wouldn't work. But once I came out of the call and back in the hotel, and once the cameras warmed up again, it was working fine. So
I guess a good question actually would be, like, you've done trips like this more than once. Yes. Was there anything that you learnt from your first trip that you made sure on my next trip I'm going to take a lens, I'm going to buy a new wide-angle lens with a wider aperture or a better tripod or something like that? Was there something that you figured out that you were missing on that first trip and you got it for the second trip?
So my first trip, I probably brought too much gear, as you normally would, because you're going somewhere far, doing something special. So, my first instinct was over-prepare rather than under-prepare. So I had all the the gear. So I was shooting on a 14mm APS-C equivalent lens for most of it, and that went down to f2.8. I think was the maximum aperture on that. And then I had a decent tripod. Fujifilm cameras aren't heavy anyway, so it was a very light setup. But still, it wasn't like one of those compact travel tripods. It was the next step up, so that it was steady enough. The biggest issue with shooting out in winter is cold. So the last thing you want to do is have your body temperature fall so low that you start freezing, and then that pretty much ends the trip for you, because you have to go back and warm up. So cold, being dressed adequately is probably the biggest, and that took up the most amount of space in our luggage. Just the parkas, the winter boots, all the different layers, etc. In terms of
It's
camera
a bit different
gear,
from going to Bali in your shorts and
yeah,
singlet and
definitely.
thongs, isn't it?
And
Just to jump in, sorry, Ian,
go
SJ
for it.
North just asked, what is the best time of year to go north to photograph the aurora? And you said winter. You're just going to have to...
Yeah, I think there are different periods. I'm trying to remember when we went, because this was more than like nearly 10 years ago now. I think it was around October. There's one session, and then I think in earlier in the next year, sort of like around February, March, is a good time as well. But one thing we do look out for would be the aurora forecast. Now it's hard for anyone to sort of forecast it, but what they do is they look at that there is a Facebook page called Aurora Watchers or something like that, that we were sort of following quite a lot before we went, and they predict, it's not a certainty, but they sort of predict when the solar cycles will hit its maximum, or it isn't that happening. So if you're specifically going to photograph the aurora, then I would look into that, start doing a lot of research. We were also fortunate to go with a guide. So we met up with a guide over there, and he's a photographer as well, and he's quite experienced in chasing aurora. So he was able to give us some good advice as well.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just on the auroras, we've had a lot of aurora activity here in the southern hemisphere lately, and I mean, I know it's always sort of been on and off. We've a friend of Ian and mine, Dale, who lives down on Phillip Island. He often shoots the aurora from the back beach of Phillip Island, pointing at Antarctica. And we've had a few. We only had one last night or the night before, a predicted aurora. Unfortunately, the weather, the cloudy forecast has obviously gotten in the way. And is that? Have you been following what's going on with the aurora in Australia at the moment? Is it something that you have considered chasing here?
No, not so much, because my photography focus is now sort of more on portraiture and cosplay photography rather than landscape. But it is definitely possible to shoot the aurora from here. I think we are kind of a little bit too far north to get some really good shows, unless the activity is super strong, like we had recently, a couple of months ago, when it was so strong that you didn't even have to. You could go to any beach that's south facing it, you'd see it. But mostly the main difference between the northern and the southern auroras that you can sort of see visually in your photos is that the northern auroras tend to be very wavy. You get those nice wavy like patterns, whereas down here they tend to be light pillars. So you'd see it as like a gradual fade of colors from the horizon up to the sky, and it's mostly reddish, purplish, maybe sometimes yellowish hues. Whereas in the north, you tend to get the greens and the yellows and the blues. So they are quite different, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Tom Frieda says, for a truly exotic Northern Lights experience, Canada's Arctic is incomparable. Google Aurora Borealis. I can't pronounce that word.
Go on, give it a shot.
None of it. Tell me, someone. Anyway, somewhere very cool.
If someone can write it in the comments, and we'll
need to spell it phonetically for me. I'm just going to try and find you while you guys were talking about that. Richard Taddy, who we had on the podcast last year, got a crazy. Remember, it wasn't just the recent time when the aurora flared up, but was it in May or something that it was quite big all across Victoria?
Yeah. End of May.
He got this shot, like west of Bendigo.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were taking shots from Northern Territory.
Were they really?
Yeah, some people were getting them like phenomenal shots. Of course, because if you hit the right spot, there's zero light pollution.
Yeah.
So you're going to see everything.
And I think one of the important things, and this is probably true of landscape and astrophotography as well, is that it's nice when you can get a really good composition of foreground, background elements. Like this one, obviously, that that silo art piece is a real striking feature. But then you get the aurora in the back, and I reckon that's what makes this shot.
The silo art on its own is gorgeous.
If you didn't have the silo art, and it's just an empty sky, it wouldn't be as cool. Yeah,
it's very cool, very cool. Actually, just talking about this made me think of a story. Someone who I won't name, Justin knows who this person is, but I certainly won't name them or shame them. But they went to the Arctic Circle, I think it was Iceland, with a borrowed, very expensive medium format camera. And they were set up on like on the top of a glacier, I think it was, or a cliff, looking down over, more glacial land. And the camera was set up on a tripod, and he took his hand off it, and a gust of wind blew it into a ravine.
Oh no!
And they sent a drone down. They had a drone. They sent a drone down, and it was completely irrecoverable. So always keep your hand on your camera. Or fit a strap.
I lost a drone in Norway.
Camera strap could be advised.
I've heard that.
I know how that feels. I lost a drone in Norway.
Was the drone a flyaway, or like what happened?
It was a DJI.
Ouch.
It was a Phantom 3.
Yeah.
And
I mean, did it fly off? Like it was, how sometimes they lose.
Oh yeah, no, this one I think
disappears?
it lost signal over a mountain range. So I flew it over a mountain range, and as I crested the top, I saw like an incredible sunrise, and I was going like, "Oh, this is looking so cool!" And then like spin, I go, "Oh crap!"
Oh no!
Yeah,
it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone to the drone gods. SJ North has just asked a question, and perhaps you can answer this one. Would you recommend a full frame camera, or can you use a micro four thirds camera?
I've never used a micro four thirds camera, but you could certainly use it. I've had people on. I've seen people in other different camera workshops use micro four thirds cameras, and the images look good. It probably. I think that the usual convention is that if your sensor is smaller, noise tends to be a little bit more of an issue. But I think these days with software, AI type noise reduction programs, it's probably less of an issue. So I wouldn't let that stop you if you think that you've only got a micro four thirds camera and you have to go buy a full frame. I think you should be able to get rid of. I think you should be able.
I wonder
to
how
use four thirds.
Sorry, and I spoke over you there. I was just wondering how the AID noise works with astro shots, where you've got tiny little specks all over the frame, and some are bright and obvious as part of the galaxy or the Milky Way, but others would be so tiny. Would the AID noise, especially like in Lightroom, would that possibly kind of be?
I'll test it and tell you.
Okay.
Oh,
very
look.
Cool.
Sorry.
I think it would just look a little, maybe not fake, but
a little too clean.
Yeah, a little too clean. Depending on how heavy-handed you are with it. I think that would be the risk you take, and then you start to get that look where it sort of looks, not.
As always, it's something you should definitely test at home before you go overseas. So if it were me, I would go out and do a astro shoot, on the beaches of Melbourne somewhere, and just test that out.
I feel like.
You're going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like just running back to that, what's better? Having good glass would probably be the better option of the two. And there's no point having a full frame and having a slow lens. So, having something that's 2.8 or 2 to 1.4 would be a better option than having the best sensor.
Yeah. And I think also on that, like Ian was saying, go out and practice, join a photography community that does astro before you head over to, or you head up north on an expensive holiday, unsure about your skill set or your gear. Join a community that does astro. They're all over the place. I know of a number, down here in Victoria, there's a big one in Phillip Island, but they're all over the place, and go out with a group and learn from some people that have been doing it for years. Test your gear out, borrow, loan, rent what you think you might need before you make any purchases, and One, you'll be part of a community and you'll get the support and guidance and feedback you need. And then two, you'll actually build your skills. So when you do head north, say to the Arctic Circle, you don't take your hand off your camera and have it fall into a ravine. And you'll take great shots too.
I wouldn't get that close to a ravine in the first place.
True.
But I do agree. You do learn one valuable thing I learned before I headed to Alaska when doing a lot of astro shoots here in Melbourne was that operating your camera in darkness is without having to always turn on the light, because when you turn on the light, it actually destroys your night vision. And it irritates the hell out of everyone else on taking photos beside you as well.
100%.
So learning getting the muscle memory of how to work your camera in the dark
with gloves in the cold.
Yeah. 100%.
And you could literally practice that at home on the couch. If you wanted to just do it comfortably, just practicing using your camera and not being able to see.
Yeah. A couple of comments that have come through from the channels. Tay said micro might just have less dynamic range.
Probably. I would.
But again, sensor and processor tech is ever improving. So
it depends on how fussy you are with the quality of your image, I guess. For some people, it might be good enough, but for others, they would see extra noise or not enough dynamic range, and in which case, if that really bothers you, then there's not much way around the design of sensors and cameras. That means you just have to go bigger.
Yeah, and I think also if you've managed to save up or work towards an expensive trip and you're willing to spend 25 to 30 hours on a plane or in an airport, and that's your budget, and you've got a camera, shoot with what you've got, but know how to use it. Make the most of it. Get out and practice with it. Comment here for Justin, referring back to the drones. Justin, how many drones do you have?
I've got two drones, not 15. But yes, you can borrow one. But no, that's our good friend Tony. He just likes to make fun of me.
Clearly. Another question from SJ North. Ian, maybe you can answer this. Are you best to use a red or white when shooting astro? I think
a red light impacts your night vision less. So if you do have a red light on one of those head-mounted headlamps, they often have a red light setting. That's what it's for. So
they use red lights in ships.
Good suggestion.
In the bridge, so people can still see what's coming, icebergs and the whales.
Speaking of comments, I did promise we'd give away a camera strap early in the show. So I'm going to get Ian to choose a random comment. I'm going to suggest if he doesn't want to seem biased, maybe don't pick someone that you know really well. But I mean, we'll never know. And
what are you doing to me? All my fans will desert me.
Choose at random. Don't choose get off my digital lawn. He gets enough stuff off me for free anyway.
Wait, how many comments how many people do we have? Can I?
There's about 3 or 4 that have commented.
Just zoom around.
3.
There's a few in there. It's quite a prize, so.
Yep. Well, I mean, from the questions, SJ North seems to be very invested and
very.
And I reckon if we gave SJ North a camera strap, we could convince them to take it up there, maybe take some promotional shots for Lucky Straps while they're there.
Ooh, that'd be nice if SJ North would do that for us.
Hey, you just found yourself a new job. And Tay, who I believe you know, is pretending that they don't know you. But congratulations, SJ North.
Yes. You are the winner, SJ North. DM us. We'll figure out this. I didn't really think it through. We'll work it out.
Yeah, contact us somehow, and we'll figure it out.
Verify that you are in fact you, and then we'll work it out from there.
How are they going to contact you guys, Jim? Justin,
Instagram, through the website. I'll give you a secret code word for you to comment on YouTube, so I can make sure that this is your account, and that's how we'll do it. I just come up with that on the spot, and you will get. One of these new coloured Deluxe is either the brown with wine red, which is quite a favourite, or
that's really nice.
my
Can I nominate
current
myself?
Well, you could have, but it's too late.
Too late, mate.
Pretty nice.
Oh, look, Jim's got one there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You've been running. I've got.
Yeah. The benefit of doing the promo shoot was that we can't sell the ones that we've already used. Yeah. So someone had to have it.
This one's all nice and worn in. This has been mine for 6 months probably. It's the first prototype, and it's very nice and soft.
Very cool. Now,
now back to it.
Back to it. So SJ North has said 100%. I'll take promo shots for Lucky.
Thank you.
Tay says congrats, SJ, and SJ North is very appreciative. Yay! Thank you guys.
You're welcome.
SJ, you're gonna have to get the gloves as well if you're going somewhere cold.
Exactly.
You got to pay for those though.
Yeah.
No,
well, I'm not giving those away. But congratulations. So you've won yourself some Lucky Straps products, which is wonderful. Just another quick question from Tom Freda. Olympus Micro Four Thirds has a special mode designed for Aurora, live composite mode. I have seen that in action in a video.
Interesting. I hadn't heard of that.
But yeah, I can't remember how it works, but it is interesting that it's specifically dedicated to that. All right. Moving
along. Well, I was really keen to find out some more about cosplay photography.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ian, tell us about your current work. That's the only reason you're here, Ian. Tell us about some of your current work that you're doing with cosplay photography, which is a relatively new genre, I think, at least here in Australia. I'm sure it's been a thing in Japan where cosplay had its early beginnings in parks in Shinjuku and Harajuku streets, where teens and youths would dress up as favorite anime, manga, gaming characters with phenomenal outfits. So tell us a little bit more about that genre and your involvement in it, please, Ian.
Sure. So I've probably been involved specifically in cosplay photography for the last 3 or 4 years, and I got into it firstly because I'm a little bit of a geek myself. I do enjoy all aspects of pop culture, from the movies to anime to video games, which is where these areas are traditionally where most of the inspiration is drawn from cosplayers. And probably I'm trying to think. The first time I got involved, I think I had someone approach me to take some photos of them in their cosplay, and I think he made his own armor of a character named Deathstroke. So if you're not familiar with the character, basically, he's got like a helmet. It's kind of black and orange. He's got armor on him, and he's got like a sword and maybe a gun or something like that. When he approached me for the shoot, he's going like, "Oh, I want something kind of gritty, in an urban setting." So for that shoot, we went up to the rooftop car park of a car park in Sidley Street, just near kind of like near the river. And we got up there, got some shots of him kind of like looking over the edge of the roof, the side of the rooftop with the city in the background. And my kind of thought process was to try and make it look very cinematic, like it came out of a movie. So then the images that came out of that he really loved. One of the photos actually made it into a cosplay magazine, which was cool. So and I really enjoyed the process because it sort of combined my growing interest at the time of doing some portraiture with placing the subject in an interesting environment, which kind of relates to the landscape photography that I've been doing. So once I started doing a little bit more of that, I thought, hey, this is pretty fun. Then I went along to one of those conventions like Oz Comic Con. I think I'm trying to remember which was the first one. I don't think I can remember, but it was one of those conventions where there were lots of cosplayers around, and I started to just reach out to some of the people there, asking if they, if I could shoot them, and from there you make friends and you make connections, and then when the people there actually enjoy your work and they like it, they want to work with you more. So that's how I started to know more and more people and get involved with more and more shoots.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's a great way to get into portrait photography. Like if you've never done it before, and you particularly with most portrait photographers, they tend to get started with, say, models. Oh yeah, that's one. That was a beach shoot that we did at the start of this year, and the characters are all from a video game called Final Fantasy. And as you can see, most of the cosplayers will either buy their suit or make their costumes. So some of them would have made some parts of their costume. Some of them would buy a full costume itself and maybe add some other parts that they make themselves. But as you can see, that's Rey Skywalker from Star Wars. That's the character is Rey Skywalker, but that's Becky cosplays, and she cosplays a lot of Marvel characters like Captain Carter, Wonder Woman. Or Wonder Woman's not Marvel, that's DC. That one's a shot from a recent event that I organized. So I had an idea to organize a masquerade ball in a venue called the George Ballroom in St Kilda. So that was a lot of work to organize all, and I think we had about 8 photographers for that shoot come along, and I organized about 16 cosplayers to be involved. I think it's probably more than 16. And we basically
here's a group shot with some of them.
Yeah, and yeah, so I paired off photographers with 2 or 3 cosplayers and assigned them different locations in the room, and we would all shoot. And then later on during that session, I pulled everyone together and I said, hey, let's get together. Let's organize this like a scene, like a ballroom scene from a movie. And I had some of the, there was also a ballet dancer that my wife organized to come along. So as you can see, it kind of looks like the cosplayers are all there watching a ballet dancer perform, and I told them to act out some of the scenes as well. So they're kind of like whispering conspiratorially to each other, going, "Oh, that she looks really cool. Well, I could do better." And yeah, it was really fun.
Just quickly, was this the first shoot you were talking about, or is this
yes?
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So so that was one of my first cosplay shoots. The other one was I also worked with a cosplayer. I think her Instagram handle is Chrissy Q. And Chrissy is amazing because she does a Black Widow cosplay, and if you've seen her cosplays, she looks very much like Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, okay.
But she's also a really experienced cosplayer, so always, yeah, that's her in black. You can see her there.
Oh, she really does.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
but her
cool.
cosplays are always like on point, very very immaculate. It's almost like movie accurate, but yep. And she's also a black belt in Taekwondo, I think.
Oh wow!
So she can do all the kicks and all the crouchy positions, the action shots.
The crouchy positions. they teach that at Taekwondo.
It's the what do they call it? It's the superhero pose. The one where they drop down low. Yeah.
Yeah. The sort of stuff that we can no longer do.
Exactly.
Tay's saying that she's a shapeshifter.
She is.
Are you lighting most of these, Ian, or are you like using natural light?
I'm using both.
Yeah.
So as you can see, like some of them are obviously lit with flash, but like this particular shot was down at Cape Shank, Pulpit Rock, and that's just natural light. Yeah.
So there's obviously in some of them there will be kind of like Photoshop work and stuff like that. I assume this has
Yes.
Yeah.
So Photoshop, as in this was taken actually during the day at a convention. The background is the only thing I did was to make day look like night. I haven't replaced anything. I haven't used. I haven't replaced the background or anything.
And do you do that, or do you don't replace backgrounds, or you do sometimes? And how much is that a part of what you do?
I rarely replace backgrounds simply because I like to. I take a lot of time when I plan a shoot to select the correct location or the correct background for my shot, so that I don't have to replace. Because my Photoshop skills are fairly basic. I don't do composites, or well, I've tried, but they turn out really bad. So I generally avoid.
It's really hard, yeah.
Yeah,
I generally
do it
avoid
well.
compositing. Yeah, I suppose it has become easier with AI, but again, I'd rather not. I'd rather use the actual background, because we've got such beautiful locations here in Victoria. I mean, in Australia in general, and I think it'd be a waste, not to use that and to replace that with something else.
That's what I was interested to kind of talk about and ask you about, because obviously you could go as far as you want when it comes to image manipulation with cosplay. I mean, they do it in the movies. It's like it's not. It would not be unreasonable to do a heap of Photoshop work on a cosplay image to make it look like a movie poster, for example. So I was really interested to hear your thoughts on. Does doing it in a real location with a real background and using lighting and framing, is that kind of like an extension of the cosplay itself? Because for example, these people are putting a lot of effort into the costumes to look as close to their desired goal as they can in real life, rather than just saying, oh, we'll just Photoshop the mask on later or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's almost the photography is taking that similar kind of aspect where it's like, hey, maybe it won't look exactly like it would in a movie scene, but it's a real person in a real costume in a real location. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm trying to dance
I do.
around to get to? Yeah,
I do. So when one of the aims with my cosplay photography is that firstly, I want the cosplayer to be recognizable. So obviously here, if it's Spider-Man and the face is totally obscured, then it could be anyone again, right? But as much as
we did that last weekend.
You look good, Greg.
I know, don't I?
Beard's growing fast.
I just can't crouch. The beard is stuffed into the mask.
You can go upside down, so that's cool.
Oh, crazy! That's great. Yeah, that is great.
Just can't crouch.
But I want the cosplayers to look like themselves as much as possible. That's my first. That's my first kind of rule. I don't really have like hard and fast rules, but that would be my first rule. So I don't do manipulation of their bodies or their I don't try to make them look slimmer, that sort of stuff. I want them to look like themselves. Then the second obviously is to be true to the cosplay character, the character that they're cosplaying. So in that case, I have done and I do like, for example, with Star Wars, often they'll have a lightsaber and it's a prop and it will light up with an LED, but when you're using a flash, it will overpower the brightness of the LED lightsaber anyway. So I would go in and that bright blue is photoshopped in. So
is that Eleanor, Ian?
That is
Captain Eleanor.
Yes.
Captain Eleanor is another shapeshifter. I've met her in person at, where did we go? Was it Comic-Con?
Yeah, at Comic-Con. Yep.
At Comic-Con.
You met her. She's amazing.
Yeah,
she does
she
a lot of
sews
Star
all her
Wars.
own, and she sews all her own costumes. She's phenomenal in some of the stuff she's made.
She's incredible. So in this shot, obviously, I photoshopped the lightsaber blade in. The flare is real though. You can drag and drop flare effects, but that particular flare is real. I used a 1/4 black mist filter on that one, and it gives a really nice flare. So
that's great.
But I do want to stay true to their character as well. So if they have powers, for example, I would try and Photoshop, like for example, not Black Widow, Scarlet Witch or Wanda is a character that often has these red type of effects coming out, like that one there.
There we go.
Yep. So I photoshopped in the obviously the power effect between her hands, and then I added in some smoke on the edges. So that's probably a case where I have added in something to alter the background to kind of bring that character to life. But again, the character, the face, the shape, who they are physically, that's 100%. This is Hannah. So. Yep. So that is that balance that I try to do. Again, I have seen other photographers who will take a character and place them within a castle setting that's been, that's a background replacement. And that's and I don't knock that, because it's very hard to find castle settings here in Victoria. If you lived in Eastern Europe, they'd be everywhere, right? But over here, it's very hard to find them. So to be totally true to a character that is that is of that setting, it's sometimes inappropriate. Again, there are some cosplayers who say definitely no AI, and photographers who say definitely no AI, and there are others who will happily make use of those tools. I don't judge anyone. Again, it's all about the art. So as long as you have that conversation with your cosplayer, and say, this is what I do, if you're comfortable with that, then great. But if you're not, then let's find a way to work around that to get to the end result.
And I think that's important. You mentioned recently I joined in at Comic-Con in Melbourne at the exhibition centre, because to follow him, I was writing an article about Ian and his cosplay photography for Shot Kit. And so I followed Ian one morning and just documented him at work. And what I think I found what I think was the most important element, obviously there's the photography skills, but it was the communication and the relationship that Ian has built with every cosplay artist that he works with. And even people who didn't want their shots taken by him on that day, there was camaraderie and trust, which is a big part of Ian's personality. But it was really interesting, because I think cosplay photography, they have to make themselves a bit vulnerable. They're playing make-believe in public, and whilst it's becoming more and more acceptable, there's probably still some stigma around that, why are you dressed up for kind of thing. But it is booming at the moment. But it was just really interesting watching Ian work and having cosplayers approach him and him offering them some shots and to be shared on their Instagram, because all cosplayers have an Instagram feed, and that's how they find work and their community too. So it's a really interesting process to watch. And Ian's kit, despite him having one of the biggest Shimoda backpacks I've ever seen, Shimoda backpacks, he worked fairly simply. I think I've got a shot here of Ian at work if you want to see it. Let me just jump into that. So this is the article that I wrote. That's Captain Eleanor there. That was at the Comic-Con. And that was just in the convention hall causeway. So outside of the convention center, it's inside the convention center, but it's not inside the main hall. Ian was set up there, and I've got some shots of Ian at work here. Let me just somewhere. So that was Ian's camera. You want to tell us a little bit about the camera you're using for your cosplay and the lenses?
Yep. So for that particular shoot, I was using the GFX 100S. And I've only got a couple of lenses, so it would be the 45mm.
That's a 45.
2.8, I think, and then also the 110mm f2. So in full frame equivalent, that would be a 35mm and a 85mm. So a 35mm for wider environmental portraits, and then the 85mm for more closer, tighter shots. So that's all I have camera wise. In terms of lighting, I shoot with Profoto. So that's that little unit's a Profoto A2. So it's just a very small size flash, about the size of a Coke can. And then there's a small Octa softbox that I use, and then obviously a light stand. And I try to keep it simple because I like to roam around and find different backgrounds to suit the subject. So for example, in this case here, Becky's outfit really suited. It wouldn't. I like my backgrounds very clean and minimal. So, and I felt that the orange or the reddish type of hues in this background suited her to kind of bring her out. So. I'd walk her over to that location and shoot there. So my setup helps me to be mobile. Often, if you go to the conventions, you'll see some photographers who have 3 light setups, and they're pretty much in the same place, shooting in that area. But yeah, I like to move around.
Very cool. It was a fun afternoon, and like I said, it was just really fascinating watching Ian work with these people. Many of them were just young adults, kids, compared to me anyway. But here he is getting extreme close-ups.
What's the business of cosplay photography like? Is this a viable business opportunity?
It's probably. I don't think it's enough to be a full-time job. Usually, photographers will charge anywhere from, say, because if you go to a convention, for example, you could charge something like, say, 30, 50, $60 for like a half an hour session, and then you deliver half a dozen images, something like that. Cosplayers will pay for that. So we're not talking in terms of money, the amount of shoots that you would do for, say, a corporate shoot or a wedding or even a traditional portrait shoot. It also depends, as Greg said, cosplayers, the age range runs anywhere from teens all the way up to people our age, and again that's a very wide income range there. We know students probably wouldn't spend a lot of money. People on the other income range may, but I find that the cosplayers who would spend money on a shoot would be those with really elaborate costumes, or those who want, because some of them will use those photos to then print out prints of themselves that they sell at conventions. So in that case, that there is a little bit of a commercial aspect there, and cosplayers themselves also, most of them don't tend to charge at conventions. Most of them are just there not to make business, but they're just there to have fun, to enjoy their craft, to show off their creativity, also to catch up with friends. Cosplaying together with a group of friends is a huge reason of why they do it, because it's a very much a community activity. There are obviously cosplayers who, because some of them, when particularly the movie accurate costumes, they can cost up to thousands. So they've obviously made the investment, and they are available for hire for events, parties, that sort of stuff. So, but again, it's not something that would be a single source of income for them. It'll be a side hustle for most of us.
What about your so these more elaborate styled shoots, away from the conventions and the ones that you're sort of putting a fair bit of time and work into with a particular character? Are most of the ones that you're doing, are most of them paid work, unpaid work? Is it sort of a semi-passion project for some of them with you, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's mostly TFP, so meaning it's unpaid. And again, it can depend on the shoot, right? So if it's a cosplayer that's approached you specifically to say, hey, I want to do this studio shoot, I want to get these props, and I need it for this amount of time, and this is the purpose, then you'd probably negotiate some sort of a price for that, a cost for that. But a lot of my projects are collaborative, so it'll be cosplayers that I know and I'm friends with coming up to me saying, "Hey, I've got an idea for this," and I'll go, "Oh, that sounds like a really cool idea. All right, let's do it." And if it's a studio shoot, all right, let's book a studio. We'll share the cost, and then go it that way. Because the way I see it is, yes, I am giving up my time as a photographer to take the photos, to edit it, and do all that. But the cosplayers themselves also have invested their time to make the costumes. Often it can take them months to do it. It's not just something they can whip up, in a couple of days, unless it's an existing costume that they already have. Often to do something from scratch would take them months. They would sew, they would if some of them would make their own props. They make the guns out of foam. They
3D print stuff.
They 3D print stuff, exactly. So it's very much a cost to them in terms of materials, time, effort, all that sort of stuff. So from that point of view, it's a collaboration, and most of my shoots are that I organize outside of cons are unpaid for that reason. And I see it as an investment as well in my own skill, in terms of, like, if let's say we have to share cost of going to a location, petrol, travel, studio, that sort of stuff. Because we, as photographers, we obviously do invest a lot of time in gear, right? Everything costs, from lenses to bodies to bags, etc. But I think, particularly, I found that in this stage of my photography life, if you like, I find that investing in skills is more beneficial than gear, because we're at a stage where, I'm at a stage where I know this is the gear that I need. I don't need to change cameras every year. I don't need to buy every single lens that comes out in the next 6 months. So
that's interesting.
So my money is more better spent investing in my shoots, which benefits me creatively, and I learn new skills, etc. through that. Yeah.
I'm just imagining some listeners right now going, "Oh, that's easy to say for a guy that's got a GFX 100."
No, but
I don't.
You can't go much higher
anymore. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've already got the best camera you can get.
This will do a year or so.
Yeah.
But it was true, like, even when I first started, because I shot with a Fujifilm X-H1 for the first 3 years of my cosplay journey, and and again, most of my, during that time, I shot with either one or two lenses. So I had a 24-70 equivalent zoom, which I use most of the time, and then I had a 56mm, which was a 85mm equivalent for specific portraits, shallow depth of field stuff. So I keep my gear very simple. I don't, even though I've been 100% Fuji my whole life, I don't bash other brands, because at the end of the day, the camera, the lights, they're all just tools to be creative. And you could really do it with any camera that's been made in the last 6 years. Camera technology has been that good that really, if you know how to use a camera, understand the basics of the exposure triangle, understand how to use lights, even natural light, sources of light, and know how to edit your images well, you can make amazing photos no matter what your gear.
Very true. Very true. We've got a couple of questions in the comments. I'll pop it up on the screen. The first one's from Tom. Have you run into licensing issues from Disney or Sony when publishing images? And do you get model releases? So
licensing issues, no. I don't know the legal things about it, but I don't think there's anything that stops you. But particularly with cosplay costumes, there isn't any trademark on costumes that I'm aware of. There are no identifying logos like Marvel or Star Wars or anything like that. It's so I haven't encountered any licensing issues that way. Model releases, if I'm using, for example, with those images that we use for your article, Greg, we did go around and talk to all the individual cosplayers to ask if they were comfortable with us using those images. So
and we credited every cosplayer in the article, and Ian's work, of course. I don't think it's I don't think it's a gray area. I think it's, mean, a lot of these costumes are pulled together from, like you said, purchase products, which is actually on the, the distributor and the retailer as to whether they've got permission to sell those products. If it's, like a screen accurate copy of something, people have been making, dress up clothes of their own, forever. I'm sure that, if you go to like a Big W or a Target or a Kmart or whatever, you can buy Disney clothing and all of that sort of thing. So I don't know. It's a good question though.
I think you could potentially have issues maybe if you were trying to make it a big business and you're, say, advertising, hey, come and dress up as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I'll take your photo for this much money, and you're actually like sort of putting that in the ad. And I think that's potentially where that line might start to cross as like, hey, you're using our our characters to profit. But yeah, I think for what you're doing, like you say, nothing's actually, you're not crossing any lines that I could see at all.
Yeah. Another great question from SJ North, our winner of Lucky Strap this week's episode. Do you need to get permission to take photos at a Comic-Con or similar event, either for money or for free?
That's a good question.
Okay, so the answer is yes if you're within the convention area. So, for example, at Comic-Con, the Melbourne Exhibition Centre, there's a corridor that spans the whole building, and then the actual convention itself happens behind the closed doors of one of the areas. So, for example, between door 4 and 6, you'd have the convention would book that space. So if you go into that area, photography is controlled. So they generally wouldn't let you in with a full-on flash and professional camera gear. Smartphones obviously are a different matter, but if you want to shoot outside in the corridor and outside the convention center, the exhibition center, there's no restriction there. So it depends on the convention. There's another convention called Supernova, which is at the showgrounds. Now, to enter that one, you have to actually go through the gates of the showgrounds, and it's paid. You need a ticket to get in. So obviously that one you need to pay to go in. Whereas with the Melbourne Convention Center, you don't actually have to buy a ticket, because if you don't want to go into behind those closed doors, then you don't have to pay. But the cosplayers will generally hang around outside the area to get their photos taken if you want to take photos of them. So with that one, you don't actually have to buy a ticket to Comic-Con or any convention that happens in that particular building. So it depends. But the other important thing which I want to stress about permission is also people will often go and try and take sneaky shots of cosplayers without asking them. I think it's very important to ask their permission. True, they do want their photo taken usually, but it's always best to ask permission, because it just shows courtesy and respect for them as a human being. So it's as easy as just going up to say, hey, I love your cosplay. You look so amazing. Would you mind if I took some photos of you? And 99% of the time they would say, yeah, we'd love so. Or obviously don't approach them if they're eating, if it looks like they're taking a break or having having a conversation with someone important. But outside of that, most of the time most cosplayers would say, yeah, I wouldn't mind you taking some photos.
I know in past conventions, I went to like Melbourne's first Comic-Con, and back then it was harder to get cosplay products without importing them from Japan, costumes and props and things like that. The prop replicas were still pretty limited, and people were patching together their own outfits out of cardboard and bits of fabric, and it's come so far. Like you see the shots from your ballroom shots, the level of detail and often handmade costumes. It's just phenomenal. But there is a huge industry out there also producing products for cosplayers. People doing 3D printing, and actually hand stitching, chainmail armor, leather armor, accurate swords and weaponry. It's quite phenomenal. But I know in some of the earlier days of conventions, both here and in the US, there was a lot of issues where people were becoming abusive and inappropriate towards cosplayers. they saw them, especially female cosplayers, unfortunately, in some of the fandom costumes are quite revealing, and people were seeing it as an opportunity to even get a bit hands-on, which is really sad. But I know it has improved.
Yeah.
But I think, it's a really important point around the respect of the individual artist. And
you never ever physically touch anyone, cosplay or not, anyone without asking their consent. And particularly like with cosplayers and female cosplayers, like some of them, it's hard to tell I don't know. I struggle to tell the age of some of these people as well, and there are cosplayers who are under 18, and as Greg said, they will dress in very revealing outfits, and as a photographer, you open yourself up to possibly criminal liability by touching someone and then them accusing you of sexually harassing them. So, not only from a human respect and decency perspective, but from a criminal liability perspective, you have to be careful.
Taves added a comment. I cosplayed at the first Melbourne Comic Con, then stopped because I couldn't get materials for what I wanted to do. 10 years later, and there's literally a cosplay shop 10 minutes down the road from me. So it has progressed a lot, and it is an industry that, and standing at the with Ian at Comic-Con a couple of months ago, the amount of people that was streaming through those doors that were in cosplay was just phenomenal. Whereas when I went to the original, it was they would stand out because there'd only be a few, a handful of people really putting in effort. But the amount of people, and I remember Ian and I just sort of standing there going, "Oh, that person's from this," and "Oh, that's a sim," and there's different characters that because I'm a geek too, that we both recognised. But it was just amazing, and kids, adults, people with additional needs, people in wheelchairs were cosplaying. It was absolutely phenomenal to see, and it's it's kind of the purest way to take your fandom is to replicate your favorite character and be as accurate. An accurate representation of them.
20, 30 years ago, we were kids watching our favorite, fandoms, whatever it was, Star Wars or Marvel or anything from comics. But now we're older, but we've still kept our love of those, of that. And as older people, we have more disposable income as well. So And then you put that together with the rise of online shopping from things like Temu and Taobao and AliExpress, and a lot of these things are available there as well. Costumes, outfits, and they're affordable.
Interesting. Got another comment, a question from Tom. You're in a public place. How do you deal with other photographers shooting over your shoulder after you've set up with the lighting and a consenting model?
Well, if you're in a public space, legally, there's nothing you can do about it. I know photographers sometimes will turn around and snap at the other person saying, "Hey, don't do that. You don't have permission." But legally, there's nothing you can do to stop them. I personally, if they're actually harassing my model or getting in my way, then I will tell them to stop and please step back. But I generally like to avoid confrontation because that could lead to violence, and I don't condone violence. I don't like violence, even if it's not me initiating. Like if someone threatened to hurt me or my model because I've tried to tell them no, then obviously that's an issue, and we would move away. We would go somewhere else and stop shooting. But it is tricky. But really, there isn't much you can do about it. And I don't encourage any photographer to do this because it's firstly, again, you haven't asked for consent, but secondly, it just to the photographer who's actually shooting, it's quite distracting.
It's pretty disrespectful.
Yeah, you'd actually be far better off to wait for a break in the shooting and then tap Ian on the shoulder and introduce yourself and say, "Hey, do you mind if I watch what you're doing? Looks like you're getting some great images. I'm still, getting into this, and I'd love to watch your work for a minute if you don't mind." And then who knows? Next time, a few months later of a friendship, and you might be coming on shoots to watch Ian work and help him with lights and stuff like that. Like you're far better off to build a relationship than to just hope that you can get a couple of images
100%.
to post on Instagram.
100%. I'm always very supportive of up and coming photographers who are new or who want to learn how to shoot portraiture or cosplay. And if you ask me, 9 times out of 10, I'd say I don't have a problem with you shooting over my shoulder, as long as you don't interfere with my cosplayer or me in our shoot. No issue with that.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was there at Comic-Con with Ian, that there was also a very tight-knit, not just between Ian and the cosplayers, and between the cosplayers themselves, there was a real sense of community there, but also between the photographers that were all shooting cosplay. They were kind of all in around the same area in the causeway of the convention center, and there was a lot of camaraderie and just friendship there and support, which was wonderful to see.
Yeah, the dedicated cosplay photographers. There's quite a tight, small community of us, and we mostly know each other, and it's great. We're quite positive. We support one another. Often, if we'll cover for one another. If one of us needs to go to the toilet, and say, "Hey, can you watch my gear for 5 minutes?" We'll do that. Or if someone has a gear breakdown and need to borrow something, we'll happily do that as well. So I really enjoy and value that aspect of our community as well.
Yeah, Tay's gushing. Ian is an amazing role model mentor. We appreciate him a lot.
Thank you, Tay. I'll have to get you a lucky strap.
I think Tay's a to be honest. This doesn't sound like the Ian I know at all. Very good, very good. While we've got Ian, are you happy to stick around for a little bit if we cover a couple of other things?
Yeah, definitely. Very
cool. I was going to ask you what your dream camera is, but it sounds like you've already got that. So I need to cover.
Is Leica still knocking on your door when you dream?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Because I'm happy with the camera that I use, and as you know, whenever you change system, you need to. If you've been shooting with a particular system, you develop muscle memory. You're very familiar with the menu systems, and to me, if you can get to a point where the camera isn't hindering you in creating, as opposed to you standing there trying to figure out, how do I turn this setting off? How do I do this? To me, that's getting in the way of you creating. So, if you gave me a Leica camera, to be honest, I probably wouldn't use it. Not because there's anything wrong with the system, but just because I'm already familiar with my tool, and it does exactly what I want it to do. So,
What about lighting gear? Are you looking to add to that kit?
Oh, okay. Now we're talking, right?
Let's get some
but again,
photo gear.
Like flash gear is one of those things where, again, once you find something that works, you just stick with it. Like I shoot with Profoto, which is a fairly expensive brand. And to be honest, if you're a new photographer coming up to me saying, "Hey, what flash gear should I get?" I'd say go and get some Godox flash gear, because 1, they're reliable. 2, they do what they do very well, and 3, they're affordable, very affordable. If it breaks down, just get another one, kind of thing. Whereas Profoto gear is something like 4 times the price, and there really isn't any difference in the quality of light. Like I literally did the side-by-side test of the 2 flash units. One is a Godox, one's Profoto. There is literally no difference in the quality of light. The only difference I found was a very minor increase in lighting and temperature consistency for Profoto. But again, I'm talking. I took a string of 20 shots, and maybe Godox had 2 images that were where the white balance changed slightly and the coloring was different. Yeah. But other than that, it's fine for single shots. So unless you absolutely need that 100% color accuracy kind of thing for your work, then maybe Profoto. But yeah, I'd always steal someone to Godox.
I saw recently one of your images. I think you used it. I think you bought it for the ballroom shots. The big lantern on the boom. Was it a lantern?
Oh, yep. So that was an aperture constant light. Yeah.
Mm.
I think it was an
pretty massive.
LS300. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had it with a big lantern softbox suspended on a C stand, and that was just to add a little bit, because the ballroom itself was fairly dark once you moved away from the windows. So there was just a little bit of light to accommodate different photographers shooting at the same time.
Yeah,
you couldn't do that with flash, because some would be using Godox, some would be using etc.
Yeah.
We use Godox. I actually just reminded, I smashed one on a shoot, and that
Whose did you smash?
Well, it was one of yours, but now you have mine, so technically I smashed mine. I don't know, but it was a lot less painful than I imagined smashing a pro photo would be. But that actually reminded me, Jim, that's probably the closest. That shoot is the closest we've done to cosplay photography. It was it was a shoot for a stage production of The Little Mermaid.
Amazing.
So, and we were out at a lake, and we did it in a studio and stuff like that. And we got some cool shots. I don't know. Do we have any that we can show, or we got? No, probably not. I was like, maybe we can get critiqued by the master and and see.
I haven't done a mermaid shoot yet, but I know some cosplay photographers who do that.
And, we didn't go to the point of putting the mermaid in the lake. That was probably
we tried to, but Winter and students, and they were like, no, they're not allowed.
Yeah, here we go. Taylor wants to see your shots. I want to see your shots.
I'm putting Jim on the spot. He's probably going to have to try and dig them out of his giant network storage. But
they're in a Lightroom catalog.
It was a fun shoot.
I'm trying to think. What's the easiest way for me to bring them up? Can I get Lightroom onto StreamYard?
Yeah, or you can just do a folder of images and just bring them up like that, like in preview. If you've got exported JPEGs, it's probably the easiest. Sorry for those listening with just audio only. If we're going to bring up images and look at them and just go, ooh.
We'll describe each one in detail.
Exactly. But yeah, for that shoot, Jim and I used we use different camera systems, Nikon and Canon, but we were able to use Godox, the same Godox lighting system, just with our own triggers. You wouldn't want to do that with really more than two photographers, though. It gets messy and confusing. But I'm complete agreement with you. Pro photo would be amazing, but Godox is totally fine for professional use and a lot cheaper.
Do you think
I will say one thing.
Go on, Ian.
No, I was going to say, I will say one thing for the Pro Photo Flash that I'm using, the A2. It's built like a tank. I've had it on a stand, and it's dropped over many times. Often the unit will hit the ground and the battery will pop out, but then I just pop the battery and it still works.
Well, that's not what happened to our Flash.
So there, it is very well built. So that's one thing I will give.
Maybe I'll have to try that. See if I can break one.
I was going to ask, do you think that they'll ever build into professional grade bodies? Do you think they'll ever build flash triggers into the camera system?
I'd say no, simply because every flash system has their own protocol. So that makes it hard from that perspective. Unless the camera.
Canon was the closest, I think.
Yeah.
There were. What models were it that could control the RT? I'm pretty sure there was one or two Canon camera bodies that could control the RT series flashes, I reckon.
Okay.
But maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure they put a protocol in there, and then it like Ian says, it's like I think they dropped it pretty quickly because too many people,
Yeah.
It just different flash systems and all that sort of stuff, and things get updated, and then next minute that body doesn't work with the newer flash they want to bring out or whatever, and I think they just decided it was too hard.
Too much.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but yeah.
Oh, I've lost my camera.
That's okay. Your audio is still there.
Let me share it.
Are you going to change it to cosplay, Greg?
Yeah, I'm just going to get dressed into my Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, Spider-Man suit.
But editor Seb has said, listening with audio only, but I can still tell how fancy your backgrounds and fashion senses are.
Oh, awesome.
I'm in traditional Melbourne gear in a puffer jacket.
Yeah. see what's going on with my camera.
So Justin, what sort of photography do you do, Justin? What sort of photo do you enjoy?
So now I'm very much doing sports photography, which is a little bit of work and a little bit of passion mixed together. Like I do get paid for it, and it's a lot of it is hybrid photo video as well, and that's been really fun. So I've found that I really enjoy, as much as I enjoy getting new gear, and I'm currently testing 2 lenses at the moment. 2. Not sure. 2 lenses to see if I want to buy them. But I like constraints. So mountain bike photography gives me the constraint that it has to fit in a backpack that I can carry on the bike for a long period of time. So I find it really fun to be like, all right, what 2 or 3 lenses am I going to take to be able to shoot photo and video for a full weekend of all different. I mean, it's all. Say if you go into a mountain bike shoot, we'll go to a location, Lake Mountain or something like that, and we need to make tourism video and a full set of 150 photos or something like that. And I need the gear to do that fits in a backpack. So I enjoy that side of it. You know, if you can take all of the gear and an assistant and lighting and all that kind of stuff, it's fun, but I don't find it as much fun as just run and gun kind of stuff. So yeah, basically that. And I also just recently went traveling and shot only with the Leica Q3 for 9 weeks, and definitely enjoyed landscapes and that kind of thing more than I ever have. So I'm trying to think about how I can do a bit more of that. Only in the last few years have I gone from photography being my primary income to no longer being my primary income. Like Lucky Straps is now sort of my main focus when it comes to business. So I'm still trying to figure out like what's photography for me when I don't need it to make money. Because it used to be a business. It used to be weddings primarily, and it was the way to keep the lights on. And now that it's not that, I'm figuring out what it is.
Interesting.
Are
you finding you're shooting a lot more video than photos these days, or still a good mix of both?
Still a good mix of both. There's the odd project I do that's only video, but most of them are either, and most of them are both or just photos actually. Have you? All right.
Jim's found some images.
So do you want to see the behind the scenes, or do you want to see some of the finished
just the finished images.
Just
a few.
lake.
Yeah, mate, the lake, and then a couple of the studio ones maybe, just to get some critiques.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
So the purpose of the studio was to then be used for them to Photoshop into posters and stuff, which is why the background is not a lot of like we didn't put any effort into getting the wrinkles out of the background or anything like that, because they were going to cut the characters out and then put them on graphics. So it was all about the lighting of on the person themselves.
I might not have found
the lake ones. Yeah, there. Yeah. Oh no, they're behind. I'll show the behind the scenes of the lighting setup probably before or after we smashed it.
Yeah, nice.
So shooting. Can I skip through them? This is not going well. Enhance.
What? Yeah, you're in the. Are you?
No, there was I'm in Dropbox, but
you're in the Dropbox. Wow,
I feel like I'm not in the right folder.
Sorry for you guys at home. We don't know how to use computers.
No,
we focus on cameras, and then after that, we don't know what we're doing. So you can bring up folders from Dropbox on your computer, right?
Yeah, I don't have that logged in to do.
Oh, okay.
Where's one of them that? Yeah, and then so there was also they did some video as well. We didn't shoot this, but Justin got some behind the scenes.
That's cool.
It was the video guys went all out. They had like 3 or 4 different colors of reflector. So like the front reflector that would be under the face to throw a little bit of light. he had 3 different colored gels across the reflector to get different like hues coming up on their lights, and then they're blowing bubbles across with that little fan to get
That's so much
bubbles
fun.
for the mermaid. Yeah, they were having actually a great time doing it. But the shots we got out at that lake, which I could pull up, were very similar to, I imagine, how you work a lot of the time. Just one strong light overpowering the sky to try and bring the exposure down, and then sort of then just working that one lighting angle from there.
Yep. Yeah, shooting outdoors presents the challenge of wind, right? Which will blow things over, and that means if you're getting multiple lights, you either need to have multiple assistants, or you need to bring sandbags, which adds to weight, etc. So
I've found it.
You found it? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not just tricking us?
No, I've got it this time. I don't know how to.
There we go.
Yeah.
So
the one with the one with the trident was the
brilliant.
Oh, the guy. Where is?
It's all good. I've found it. If you need,
you've got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me bring it up.
This guy.
The outfits are really amazing. Very nice.
Yeah, they put a lot of work into them.
Hang on, I'm coming in hot. There we go.
I'll stop sharing.
Yeah,
that is
you guys can see that. Yeah,
amazing.
So, just sort of those ones, just one light, and then
nice hero shots. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, basically just hero shots. They're definitely not. Yeah. They're not your level, but we did our best.
No, they're great. They're amazing. The composition's great. The lighting direction's great. Poses are fantastic.
Yeah, it was actually really fun.
The sun during this, the sun was, because of the clouds, it was every minute it was changing from full sun to full shade. So we'd set them up so that the sun was a backlight if it was out, to try and, just because we didn't have a lot of time. But
what time of the day? What time of the day was this?
This was like mid-afternoon by then, because we started in the morning in the studio.
Yeah, so 3 p.m., 2 p.m., something like that.
Yeah, and there's a kiss. Yeah, we had to kind of just get it done. There wasn't really. Shooting in ideal.
But yeah,
that's the other challenge, right? Sometimes we all love to shoot in golden light, but often the weather doesn't cooperate, especially here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So you have to make do.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was really fun. Tom's just asked, was that continuous lighting? No, that was most definitely flash.
Yeah.
So basically here, this is me triggering that flash to get my behind the scenes shot. So I've exposed for the whole scene and then enough flash to do that. Whereas Jim would have had different settings on his trigger and his background, stuff like that. So it looks like Jim's triggering this flash, or that it's a constant light, but no, he's actually hasn't shot yet. And I was. It was staged.
Yeah, that's 2 Godox AD 200 Pros.
Yeah.
No, not Pros.
That was the 600.
Oh, is it?
The two had already died at that point, I think.
Oh, okay.
That's why. So that lovely lady that's holding that light for us is doing so because minutes before that we smashed 2 AD 200s and a beauty dish.
My two AD 200s.
I think Jim's still a bit bitter about that, Justin.
He keeps bringing it up.
He does.
He does. He doesn't seem to be letting it go, does he?
No, it's a bit of a theme.
Look, I said I was.
Do you find you use constant lights more these days or less?
Well, Jim just bought a couple of tube lights. That's not a lightsaber in the background of his thing there.
Is that a Pavo tube? Is that an Nanlite Pavo tube?
No. Godox.
No, they're
Godox.
Yeah, the TL120s. I bought a couple of them. They've been great.
Yeah,
a lot of cosplay photographers use using constant lights now, simply because of the option of having different colors and the.
I bought a couple of these cheap TL30 tubes. TL30 cheap.
What brand are they? Are they Godox?
Godox, but I joined them together with this little adapter. So now it's a 60. Now a TL60 is $350. 2 TL30s they're $100 each. So I think I've figured out a way to hack the system.
How many watts are they?
Don't share it with anyone. Keep it a secret.
Yeah, but when there's two of them, it doubles, Jim.
It doubles the power?
Yeah, but is that still more than one?
It doubles the light output because you're putting two of them next to each other. So when you're comparing them specs wise, if a TL60's say 30 watts or whatever they say it is, can't remember, 18 or 30. If these are only half that, if you put two of them together, that is double. They are double the power. That's how it works.
Not double the brightness? Does it double? Isn't 60 watt double the brightness?
It depends how.
Rather than double the amount of light, I don't know. I'm not good at physics, but intuitively, if you have one, assuming the 60 watt can have doubled the brightness power, like if you look at the lumens, if let's say it's 2,000 lumens and the 30 watt was only 1,000 lumens, putting 230 watt together would still be 1,000 lumens, I would think, in terms of maximum brightness, even though you have more light area.
No, because if you imagine the way that you disprove this is if you are measuring the lumens at say 1 meter, 1,000 lumens at 1 meter distance, because lumens is measured at a distance because obviously light falls off. If you put the way to prove this theory is if you have one and it's 1,000 lumens and you're not sure whether two will increase it, put 1,000 lights next to each other. Do you think the amount of light hitting that spot will increase?
Okay, yeah.
So it does increase, but it's the same with because it takes a lot more power. Like you double the increase of power. That's the inverse law for the brightness at a distance. So if you double the wattage, is the same as doubling. Yeah, it's hard for me to explain because I don't understand physics either. I left that in halfway through year 12 when I stopped listening. And got a poor score.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
But yeah, it's like if you think about it that way, if you were to just keep adding these lights to it, it's definitely going to increase the overall brightness.
Yeah.
Where it gets confusing is, are you adding power to the same output system? So say if I just doubled the power of a 30 in the same size, the same LED tube, or are we adding more tubes, like more LEDs along a tube with more power? Or if you were adding more LEDs along a tube with the same power, then that would probably have less light output at a distance, if that makes sense. If you had a long tube but with the same wattage as a short tube, it would probably have more of a spread of light, but it would have maybe less light at that 1 meter measured spot because it's a less focused. It's like putting a softbox on like a small reflector versus a spread. The small reflector is going to get more light output measured at 1 meter in a small distance. Yeah, I don't know.
I reckon you're going to need to have a gaffer on as your next guest for your future podcast.
Maybe I'll do like a Mr. Beast lighting video. I bought 1,000 tube lights to see how bright we can light up a whole city.
And at the end, we blow it all up.
And then we blew it up and drove it into a train.
Away.
Maybe.
Okay. Should we jump to some news?
Yeah.
On that, my head hurts.
Long story short, sometimes we use continuous lights.
I was trying to follow. I promise.
We're getting there slowly.
Yeah.
We came from Flash. Early days of Flash. So
videos certainly accelerated my adoption of continuous lights over Flash. But yeah, they're still very for the sort of stuff you do, continuous lights. Anything outdoors, the power is just not there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, especially for spending the same amount of money.
For portability, yeah.
Yeah.
So, news.
Let's jump to some news. News of the day, news of the week. I've been trawling the internets, and I came across a couple of articles that I thought might be of interest. I'm trying to find the one, given that the Olympics are on. Let me just share my screen with the folks at home. So as we know that the Paris Olympics are on at the moment, if you, unless you're living under a rock, you wouldn't know it was on. This is Canon's kind of storage space where they have all of the gear for photojournalists and the like. And these are all Canon on the right here. These are all EOS R5s Mark IIs.
Mm-hmm.
And on the left, these are all. Let's see if that loads so everyone can see it. These are all new R1s. And so look at all it just stretches. That's quite a serious chunk of cash and photography gear there.
Mm.
But then there was an article that someone wrote. Let me just jump to this screen. Sorry.
There we go.
Look at that. That's just...
Go do some shopping.
So it's a professional service area where people can go and obviously lease or buy gear ready for the Olympics.
It's like that scene from The Matrix, right? When Neo goes, I need guns. Lots of guns. And this
Yes.
whole thing.
Yeah,
I need lenses.
I need lenses.
Lots of lenses.
Yeah. But that's a serious investment.
We should recreate that.
Yeah.
Just there.
You know what I want to recreate one day is you guys have seen there's a scene in John Wick 2 where he visits the sommelier and he goes and he presents him like all these different guns, like what do you want for main course, this gun, and then for dessert this.
Yeah.
We should do that for like a camera,
with lenses. It's interesting you bring that up, Greg. I actually joined. I've been meaning to join Canon Professional Services since I bought my first R series camera when I switched back from Nikon. That was 4 years ago. But in the last week, I actually finally did it, which it's a fee. I don't think it ever used to be a fee. I'm not sure when that changed. But so you have to pay a fee to be a part of Canon Professional Services, and then you get access to like their faster repairs and cleaning and stuff like that. What I didn't realize is they actually let you loan lenses to test as well, which is why I've got, I've got this little fella, which is crazy.
That's pretty dangerous for you, I reckon.
I know. They obviously saw me coming. So that's a 70 to 200. It's nuts.
Wow.
70-200 f4, and it weighs less than my 50 mil. Admittedly, the 50 mil 1.2 is heavy, but it's just nuts.
That's 1.2.
Yeah,
that's an RF lens, is it?
RF 7200 f4.
Wow.
And then, since I was in the website thing anyway, the 100 to 500, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so
nice.
CPS on the back on their lens cap, so I don't steal their lens cap. But yeah, so I'm just testing those out while I'm waiting for my R5 Mark II to arrive. But yeah, it's CPS.
Oh, you ordered one? You ordered the strap to get the free camera?
No.
Yeah, I just wanted to get our strap. And so I pre-ordered it, and I don't know when it's arriving, but I'm pre-ordered, and as soon as it arrives, I'll let everyone know. And I'm hoping to have an all-star show of people that get the R5 Mark II in the first couple of weeks and just find out what everyone's thoughts are after they start shipping. So,
well, here's someone. Here's MK Chan Photography from Toronto. Pre-ordered the R5 Mark II. So there's your first guest on your special show.
Yeah.
We'll be using it with my recently purchased Lucky Strap.
Nice,
yeah, make sure you reach out to us when your R5 Mark II arrives. We'd love to have you on the podcast and find out what you think about it.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very cool indeed. What else have we got in the news? Let me just have a quick look. What are the other... This is on Nikon rumors. I'm not a huge fan of rumors, but I thought it was worth sharing given that Jim's a Nikon shooter. Jim, did you say Nikon or Nikon?
Yeah, it's
Nikon.
a good question. Yeah, it's Nikon.
I'm not in America.
Mm-hmm.
Nikon.
Yeah, the
Nikon.
Nikon
I
ZA.
think it's Nikon from a Japanese perspective, because Japanese don't say
Nikon.
Nai, they always say Ni.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, so
the
it's
Americans
But
say
I don't quote me on
it's
that.
American.
They butcher everything.
We'll take it.
Ian's spoken. We'll.
Yep, that is the official pronunciation.
New firmware updates on the way for the ZF Z7 Mark II. You've got a Z8, don't you, Jim? You're running Z8s.
Yeah, 2 Z8s.
And Z9 cameras.
What does it say? What they got? Any
It's
goals or plans
to do with
for
one of the new features is to update them to support or improve the support for the Nikon Imaging Cloud, which is, from what I understand, it's camera direct to cloud service. Fujifilm just recently launched their own version of this. Do Canon have something similar, Justin?
honestly, I don't know. That is one gripe I have with Canon is not the cloud, but even just getting images to your phone is not easy. So I don't know if everyone seems to be sort of moving towards this sort of stuff that's like a fast access to the images that you've taken. I don't know if they have a cloud at all.
Well, I know that the Fujifilm one, they recently launched it with the X100 Mark VI and the GFX 100S Mark II. I don't know if it was on any other of the GFX models, but they've partnered with a cloud service, which I think is probably a key element, obviously, for direct to cloud raw file transfer. And the cloud service platform allows for instant collaboration. So going back to the Olympics as an example, you're taking your shots, you're sending them to your cloud service, and your editor is already on them by the time they land, ready to be published or posted or whatever it may be. So I think it is the future, especially in photojournalism. Downloading to your phone or your laptop or your iPad and then editing and then uploading to your media site takes time. You don't get the scoop if that's still a thing. But with the cloud service, it's pretty much instantaneous.
Yeah,
interesting.
Is this something that interests you, Jim? This Nikon imaging cloud?
I don't think so. But maybe as like a backup or something, like an extra. That would be the only.
I'm thinking if you're a wedding photographer who only shoots, but you contract out your editing, potentially you could shoot and then it all goes into offline, and then whoever edits your photos could pick it up and just edit it, and for a faster turnaround, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, it just depends on how and when it transfers, and like, you would obviously have to be on Wi-Fi, or it would have to be like tethered to your phone or something like that. I really don't know. I feel old. I don't know how it works. Because the files are, weddings. What's wedding averaging a couple hundred gig, Jimbo? 100.
Yeah, a 10-hour wedding would be close to 250 gig.
Yeah, so it's like that's not happening anytime soon over a camera Wi-Fi that I know about. So yeah.
Well, if anyone out there is listening along and you use a cloud-based service for your photos, whether it be Nikon or Fuji or whoever, drop us a comment, and I would love to hear your views on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving right along, what else have we got? We've covered that. Here's one. This came up recently. Sorry, guys. My fingers are frozen.
You need some Valorette gloves.
Yeah, you need some photography
gloves.
We
do need some gloves.
From Lucky Straps.
Tamron patented 2 massive Fresnel zoom lenses. So the Tamron 400 to 1000, which is just pretty crazy. And the 250 to 700. So the 400 1000 is an f10 to 11.5.
Wow. Patents
so pretty reasonable.
Patented doesn't always mean they're going to bring these to market, does it? It just means they're it's in the works, maybe, kind of thing.
Yeah, but at least people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
And if they're dropping patents for this sort of lens, and other companies go, oh, maybe we should think about it. Whether it be Canon or Nikon or Fuji or whoever, or other third-party lens developers, it increases competition and people just thinking about what do even niche photographers need. Who needs a 1000 millimeter lens?
Yeah.
Well, probably some sports, surf photographers when they're way out in a swell, or wildlife from your lounge room. It's a long.
Canon have got the 200 to 800 f6.3 to f9. I don't know if it's is it Fresnel? Fresnel? I thought it was Fresnel. I don't know.
How do they say it?
I don't know if they use that in the design. I know Nikon. Nikon have some PF lenses. Fresnel. Phase. What do they call them? phase Fresnel PF in the Nikon range. Those lightweight tallies, like the 300 f4 and the 400 5.6, I think. So I don't know if Canon uses that in that design, but their 200-800 is fairly compact and light considering the size. So yeah, maybe it's kind of in competition with a lens like that, but Tamron doing what they do and kind of going even bigger, even longer. Like their old 150 to 600 kind of set the tone for a lot of that, along with Sigma. So that's cool to see.
Yep. Very cool. So from a news perspective, that's kind of the highlights. It's been a fairly quiet week. I think everyone's hunkered down and is just focusing on the Olympics. Canon is still riding a wave from the R5 Mark II R1 launch. And now they're just sort of, I guess, optimistically watching the reviews roll in. Some reviews have been coming in for the Z. Is it the Z6 Mark III?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's getting mixed reviews.
Yep.
I haven't looked too deeply into them, but I know that there's been some concerns about
image quality
about that. Yeah. That one. But,
it's interesting with the sort of like that, the faster cameras, and particularly the A9 III with the global shutter. It's I've been watching closely with the A9 III being compared to the R1 a lot. The R1 coming out as a flagship, and then everyone's sort of saying, "Oh, it's nowhere near as fast as the A9 III." Canon have really dropped the ball on this. It's quite interesting because if you go back to when the A9 III reviews started coming out, it quickly went from this camera is epic to this image quality is pretty average. Compared to a modern camera, there's obviously sacrifices they had to make to get the global shutter to do its thing. So, it's. I think people forget really quickly that a lot of the times with cameras you can't have everything. Every camera that's made is a compromise. There is often they'll say, "Oh, there's no compromise." Well, there always is. It's going to be speed, image quality. Something gets compromised because you can't have everything. And
even if they release the perfect camera, what are they going to sell to you next year?
Well, there's that too. But I
was asking you, Justin, because you'll buy next year's camera. I know. But
well, they've got 1 year to come up with something better. That's what we want them to do, is give us.
They'll make it smaller,
and then exactly. And then they've got 1 year to make it even better. But I don't know. I do often wonder, because everyone always says, they hold stuff back for the next model, and I'm sure they probably do. Unless there's competitors that are leapfrogging them, in which case I can't imagine them holding something back if they think they could take the market, if they could be the best. So I do always wonder whether that's more of I'd love to talk to an actual, someone from high up in one of these companies to find out, like, are they holding something back for the next camera release, or are they literally doing the best they can, compromise right now with price and everything and reliability taken into account, and it's just where the technology's at. I don't know.
I think it's a very complex formula.
Yeah, they've got to make sure it works too. Like they might have the tech, but making it fit in the body with all of the other things might not be feasible now.
And always for a cost as well, because they've got to make money.
Yeah, they've got to machine it. They've got to tool up machinery. They've got to buy raw materials, pre-production materials from other brands that create components, all of that stuff, whilst putting a friendly, targeted price tag on it.
Yeah.
So it's a very complex formula.
Charging a lot for the lenses.
Yeah.
Because then we don't have a choice.
Glass. Yeah. Always invest in glass.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's our news for the week. Before we wrap up, just a few things I want to cover off. Just remember, if you're watching along at home, to hit the subscribe button to either the Lucky Camera Straps YouTube channel or the Camera Life YouTube channel. And make sure you tickle the bell button so that you get notifications. And we generally put up a pre-live listing on YouTube, and you'll get a notification to say, hey, this is coming up soon. And you can get yourself all ready with your morning coffee or your afternoon beverage. before we do wrap, Jim, any photography plans for this week or this weekend? I should say it's Thursday today.
I think we're doing a little photo walk with you, maybe.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
That's
Saturday morning.
Yeah, I think that's my only photography plans other than finishing up some editing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm heading to Sunday or Saturday. Are we doing the walk?
Saturday,
because you won't be here on Sunday.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm coming Friday.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm heading
tomorrow.
to. Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, I'll rebook my flights. I'm heading over to Bendigo for a couple of days to work with the team from Lucky Straps. I've met Justin before face to face, and I haven't met Jim in person, nor Yelena. So it'd be good to meet the team. And we're going to do we've got a couple of things planned out for the couple of days I'm over there. Maybe we'll capture some video footage for one of the channels. Who knows? But Justin, other than me teaching you how to do street photography, have you got any other photography related plans for the weekend?
I'm testing out these lenses, so I'm going to figure out how to do that. I'm going to attempt to do some sort of a lens testy review type video on these two lenses. I'm going to compare the 7200 f4 to the 7200 2.8 and also the 24 to 105 f4. I'm going to compare them all and see really how the image quality stacks up and whether I can get away with a nice little lightweight f4 instead of the 2.8.
Nice. So that Canon professional services fee just paid for itself, really, didn't it?
That's right.
Nikon does that for free, Justin. Just for your FYI.
Yeah, but then you have to use one of their stinky cameras. So there's pros and cons.
Compromise. It's compromise.
The Z8's pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
Nah, it's too big.
Ian Tan, any plans this weekend, photography wise?
I have a cosplay shoot on Saturday. Shooting a couple of cosplayers who have characters from an anime or a manga called Nerdy Streamer. So I'm not familiar with that one, but they want to do a shoot in. There's a store in Melbourne Central called Million Life where they've just got rows of these machines that are a little bit like the skill testers, where they've got all these little things. They sell like gacha balls and that sort of stuff. So so it's going to be a very might be a very brightly lit neon sort of shoot. And then after that, we might just wander the streets of Melbourne to see what else we can hit to shoot. But yeah, that's my weekend. Otherwise, other than that, I'm just going to catch up on my sizable editing backlog. I've probably got about 10 shoots in the backlog to edit, but working my way through those. Yeah.
Crazy.
Sorry, Ian,
Very
real
nice.
as well with that that shoot that you've got. Do you have to get permission from the place, the location?
No, normally I would, but when I did a scout of this Million Life store, they just put these things inside an area, and there's not like a manager or an employee who just sits there. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a self-serve sort of thing. So we're just gonna go in. Did
you say that was in Melbourne Central? That's interesting. I know in the store you should be fine, but I was waiting for Yelena to go and buy something from Lululemon, and I was standing at the front of the store, and I had my fairly new Leica Q3, and I was trying to figure out some stuff in the menu how I wanted to set it up, and so I was sort of like looking at the screen and playing around with it and stuff like that. The security guard come over and told me I need to stop shooting right now. He said, if you're shooting professionally, you can't be here. And I said, well, I'm not. Like, I'm just playing around with my new camera. And he said, yeah, but that's a professional camera. He said, you can do anything you want with your phone. You take as many photos you want with your phone, but don't get that camera out again. And I was
That's weird, isn't it?
It is weird because there is no difference between a phone and a camera in terms of whatever it is they're trying to stop. But a phone, he made it quite clear to me because he was trying to be, he was sort of being firm but quite nice. And he said,
so you don't think it was an ego thing? He was just...
No, I think he's been told he needs to do this. And he definitely made it clear. He said, mate, go for it with your phone. I don't mind at all. Just don't get the camera out again. So he wasn't trying to tell me not to take photos. He was trying to tell me, don't use the camera. You can only use your phone. I was like,
I wonder if it's because I've seen lots of groups of like young people and small dance troupes especially around Federation. Well, no, using their using better cameras on a gimbal to shoot TikToks.
Yeah.
And especially at Fed Square, I see a lot of it at Fed Square. Because often that's where I'll start my street walks.
Yeah, I think generally, if it's outdoors, it's fine. It's indoors, sort of like in your shopping malls, you'll get the security guards. Yeah, I've had that before as well. I mean, for this shoot, I'm not going to bring a lot of gear. I'm gonna bring maybe that small flash, or maybe not even use flash at all, just a sneaky camera sort of thing. But if they ask me to leave, obviously I would. I know it's not.
I think
confrontation.
Being in the store, I think you'll be probably more okay. I feel like it. Like if it's within a little. Yeah, I think it was because I was out in the walkway, kind of doing. Whereas I assume in the stores, it's for the store to manage. Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll be interested to see how it goes.
I'll find out on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know if you need to be bailed.
Thank you. I will.
Well, I'd like to thank Ian for joining us today. It's been really insightful and wonderful to see the work he's doing, not only in photographing cosplay artists, but also in building community around it. And having seen Ian work firsthand within this community, it's great to see that these cosplayers trust that the photographer is going to do the right thing and do that he does. So thank you, Ian, for joining us. It's been great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you,
Ian.
So we're going to wrap up. Maybe the next time you see us won't be live from Bendigo, but you might see some footage somewhere of our little get-together in Bendigo. Ian, actually, just one last question. Ian, where can people see your work? Where are your socials?
I'm on Instagram, really. That's about the only thing. I'm not on TikTok or anything. It's kind of beyond me. But definitely Instagram. It's on the screen. Instagram at Guitar Pug.
Guitar Pug.
So you can see the pugs in the background here. I used to have 2 pugs, but they've moved on. And I used to play guitar.
Well,
yeah, such a talented man. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up, guys. This has been the Camera Life podcast brought to you by Lucky Straps. Jim, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Come to the strap factory packing place.
Yeah, going to come to the headquarters.
Lucky HQ.
Lucky HQ.
Yeah.
And Justin, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
And congratulations to our winner of the new free Lucky Strap offer. If you've got questions, if you're watching along or you're watching this after we've finished recording live, please feel free to add questions, comments, and we'll try to get to those in future episodes. We're still trying to plan next week's guest, but be sure that we will have a good show for you then. So on behalf of the team, I'm Greg. Thanks for tuning in and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.